I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start, but as we saw, he came to my ears and whispered, "Please be easy on me." He thought I'm Mike Tyson and I will follow his script 40 seconds after I broke the clown's jaw. We are boxers, not content creators. I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start, but as we saw, I didn't want to put him down early. You all know I was handcuffed. I don't want to say anything that I will be regretting in the future, but all I can say now is the first 20 seconds was enough for me to end Jake Paul.
It's like this is the clearest fixed fight you're ever gonna see. But look at this guy holding his hands up and watch. Watch this. He literally shows him his chin and he goes down. It's so fake. Look at, he's got nothing. It's like a guy who just learned boxing.
The day after I woke up and told my wife, "Why did I do that?" I don't know. I just don't know what the hell goes on. I remember one thing. I had a very hard moment in that part of my life. But I assure you, in that age, I could have put that clown in the first round, but I sold my soul. And I'm
a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. And then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists.
Look, this is what's eating at me about the whole heavyweight situation. Everyone's making noise to cover up the uncomfortable truths that refuse to disappear.
That guy did great for someone who's been boxing for like less than a decade. He has had no real professional opponents other than Tommy Fury that were legitimate world-class boxers.
I don't even remember what happened in the Tommy.
He lost a close decision, but it was a good fight. It was a good fight.
All right, here's where I stand, and this might sting. Jake Paul never actually created a legitimate boxing path. What he did was construct a bubble where everything stayed predictable. These bubbles work perfectly until somebody breaks the rules. Joshua breaking them wasn't some heroic moment, it was just business as usual. But that ordinary response sent shockwaves through everything, because ordinary destroys systems that depend on special treatment. The moment Joshua handled him like just another fighter, the whole facade crumbled. That collapse reveals what we were really watching all along.
Oh no, I don't remember the fight that much. I kind of blanked out a little. Listen, know what I remember? Coming back from the first round, and then the next day I remember Jake is doing some kind of, I don't know, what was he doing at the ring?
Oh, yeah, a little bow at the end, he bowed.
And that's the last thing I remember. You know, but the day after the fight, the day after, I woke up and told my wife, "Why did I do that?" I don't know. I just don't know what the hell goes on.
What did you think of Jake's power, man, when you were in there?
I don't remember it, but my body was really sore. Yeah, my body, my chest, my stomach and stuff was really sore.
Everyone talks about courage, and look, getting in there requires heart. But courage without smart thinking becomes a problem that insurance companies worry about, not athletes. This is what makes me uncomfortable. Somebody gave this the green light while knowing the skill difference, the dangers, what could realistically happen. When someone approves something, they own the outcome. And right now, you can watch everyone running from that ownership. Notice how they keep steering conversations toward heart instead of decision-making.
He's also nuts, right? Just the fact that he's willing to fight the two-time heavyweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
A guy who's gigantic in his prime, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And you're going to stay, and he's a one-punch killer.
Sure, the physical damage counts, but what happened next matters way more. Once you allow a brand to test itself against real violence, you can't pretend you didn't see the outcome. Every influencer bout moving forward exists under Joshua's result. That result casts a massive shadow that won't fade. Promoters understand this because they lost their safety net of claiming ignorance. They can't pretend anymore that nobody knew how this might end. We all witnessed the limit. It's solid concrete and somebody crashed into it full force.
You could only take so much. And at a certain, like that one that he got from Joshua, ooh, you know, say if you have like a punch card, you have like so many punch that you can get in your life, which I believe you do. I believe there's a certain number. That one was like 10 bunches.
Yeah.
That was like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of concussions in that one punch.
Sure.
That was real damage. Like,
What gets me is how obvious this outcome was. Not the specific knockout, but everything that followed. Boxing's full of cases where entertainment went too far and paid later. These situations follow the same pattern every time. Start with jokes, move to interest, then worry. Finally, remorse. We're sitting right between worry and remorse at this point. The remorse stage is when the real information surfaces and people begin creating distance and changing their stories. Nobody can convince me that all parties were clueless. That's offensive to suggest. These are industry professionals. They know about impact. They know about harm. They understand probability curves. So the risk was calculated and deliberate. Calculated risks mean accepting potential losses. I keep wondering who was supposed to absorb that loss, because this clearly wasn't the expected visual. Not this clean, not this permanent. When expectations clash with reality this hard, that's usually where honesty starts leaking out. The Tyson situation still bothers me because memory problems aren't casual mentions. That's a warning signal. Warning signals don't happen by accident. Whether it was physical, mental, or something else entirely, it created unease that never got addressed, just covered with publicity. Joshua's knockout brought all that back to the surface. When buried issues resurface, people start questioning who created the problem originally.
In pain?
Yeah, but
Does
it's
it
not,
hurt?
it's not from like talking.
Talk to me about what your jaw feels like, because you got
It's like a baseball in there.
two
and then-
plates,
It just feels like
4 titanium plates.
4 titanium.
This whole thing makes me sick because professionals analyze footage differently. They don't see entertainment, they see timing, spacing, and tension. What they witnessed was someone understanding too late that the game had changed. That moment of realization is horrifying because it means the protection was never real. Fake protection systems end careers without warning. Rogan's shift in tone happened for a reason, and it wasn't about morality, it was recognition. He's witnessed enough trauma to identify when something moves from competition into dangerous territory. His retirement suggestion wasn't aimed at Jake Paul specifically, it was about stopping the next disaster, the one everyone dreads. If you think people in boardrooms haven't already imagined that disaster, you're fooling yourself. They plan for worst-case scenarios professionally. What we're seeing now is damage control happening live. Damage control appears smooth on top, but chaotic underneath. The longer it takes for straight answers to appear, the more questionable everything becomes. Transparency should be simple if the situation was clean. Nothing about this seems clean. It feels complex, managed, processed. That's always troubling. Joshua's function keeps standing out to me, not as good guy or bad guy, but as a catalyst. He didn't build this mess, but he revealed it faster than anyone planned. Revelation is dangerous because it destroys control. Control was the real product being sold here. Control over opposition, control over stories, control over results. Joshua eliminated control with one shot. Control doesn't get given up easily after that. Some will claim this is standard boxing. People get hurt, time to move forward. That's shallow thinking, because circumstances matter. These circumstances are soaked in promotional promises that claimed credibility without proving it. When promotion runs ahead of reality, someone covers the gap. Here the payment came in broken bones and medical procedures. That debt is getting shuffled around, hoping someone else handles it. Jake Paul isn't evil in my view. He's merchandise that gets pushed until it breaks. When merchandise breaks, the company blames the customer blames conditions blame randomness. Randomness becomes the easy excuse, but randomness doesn't book matches. People do. People make choices. Choices create results, even when nobody wants responsibility. There's also a cooling effect starting. You can feel it building. Athletes will hesitate, regulators will probe deeper, insurance will get skeptical. Suddenly, easy profits don't seem so accessible. When accessible money disappears, loyalty vanishes too. That's when narratives begin shifting. I promise you, some of the support we heard before will quietly become separation. The audience isn't foolish either. They enjoy shows, but they value the real thing. Joshua provided reality in its most raw form. Once audiences experience that again, selling them diluted versions becomes harder. That creates problems for anyone whose income depends on blurring boundaries because the boundary just got marked in permanent marker.
I'm just hoping after the Floyd fight, maybe we can have a rematch. He did well, but I want to try it again.
Is that something that you would be interested in terms of righting the wrong?
Yeah,
I keep replaying the aftermath mentally, and each time it gets worse because this wasn't just an athlete getting injured. This was a business strategy hitting reality at maximum speed. When that collision happens, people don't rush toward truth, they rush toward protecting their position. You can sense that protection actively happening in the spaces, in what's not being discussed. If everything was legitimate, there would be no hesitation, no careful wording, no calculated statements. Instead, we're getting volume, strategic volume designed to drown out persistent questions that keep returning. My raw assessment, and yes, this stings, Jake Paul never developed a boxing career. He developed a managed environment. Managed environments function until someone refuses to participate. Joshua's refusal wasn't heroic, it was standard operating procedure. That's precisely why it created panic, because standard procedure threatens systems built on exceptions. The second Joshua treated him like any regular opponent, the experiment failed. That failure tells you everything about what this really was from the beginning. People mention bravery, and sure, entering the ring requires guts, but bravery without wisdom creates liability. Liability is what networks protect against, not fighters. That's where my unease grows, because someone authorized this while understanding the gap, the risk, the potential outcome. Authorization creates responsibility. That responsibility is being actively avoided right now. You can sense it in how everyone keeps redirecting conversations toward toughness rather than judgment. Don't misunderstand, the injury is significant, but the precedent is more significant. Once you allow a brand to test itself against elite violence, you cannot unsee the result. Every future influencer fight now exists in Joshua's shadow. That shadow is long and unforgiving. Promoters know this because they lost plausible deniability. They cannot claim anymore that the ceiling was unknown. We saw the ceiling, it's concrete, and someone hit it head first. What troubles me most is how predictable this was. Not the knockout, but the fallout. Boxing history is filled with moments where entertainment pushed too far and paid later. Those moments always follow the same pattern. Laughter, then curiosity, then concern, finally regret. We are directly between concern and regret right now. The regret phase is when real stories emerge and people start distancing themselves and rewriting timelines. I don't accept that everyone involved was naive. That's insulting. These are professionals. They understand force, damage, risk curves. That means the gamble was intentional. Intentional gambles imply expected losses. I keep asking who was expected to lose here, because this clearly wasn't supposed to look like this. Not this definitive, not this final. That mismatch between expectation and outcome is where truth usually leaks. The Tyson angle still nags at me because memory loss isn't a throwaway comment, it's a flare. Flares don't get fired accidentally. Whether it was physical, psychological, or something more complicated, it adds unease that never got resolved, just buried under hype. Now Joshua's knockout dug that grave back up. Once graves reopen, people start asking who put the body there originally. I also think fans are underestimating how much this shook fighters behind the scenes. Pros watch tape differently. They don't see drama, they see timing, distance, intent. What they saw was a guy realizing too late that the rules had changed. That realization is terrifying because it means the safety net was imaginary. Imaginary safety nets end careers abruptly. There's a reason Rogan's tone changed, and it wasn't morality, it was recognition. He's seen enough damage to know when something crosses from sport into warning sign. His plea to retire wasn't about Jake Paul, it was about preventing the next headline, the one nobody wants. If you think that headline wasn't already imagined by people in suits, you're kidding yourself. They game out worst cases for a living. What we're watching now is reputation management in real time. Reputation management always looks calm on the surface and frantic underneath. The longer it takes for clear answers to emerge, the more suspicious it becomes. Clarity should be easy if everything was straightforward. Nothing about this feels straightforward. It feels layered, negotiated, filtered. That's never a good sign. I keep coming back to Joshua's role not as villain or hero, but as accelerant. He didn't create the problem, he exposed it faster than planned. Exposure is dangerous because it removes control. Control was the real currency here. Control over opponents, narratives, outcomes. Joshua took control away with one punch. Control rarely gets surrendered peacefully afterward. Some people will say this is just boxing. Injuries happen, move on. That's lazy because context matters. This context is soaked in marketing language that promised legitimacy without earning it. When marketing outruns reality, someone pays the difference. In this case, the bill came due in bone and metal. That bill is now being passed around, hoping someone else picks it up. I don't think Jake Paul is evil. I think he's a product, and products get pushed until they break. When they break, the manufacturer blames the user. The user blames the environment. The environment blames chance. Chance becomes the convenient scapegoat. But chance doesn't schedule fights, people do. People make decisions. Decisions have consequences even when nobody wants to own them. There's also a chilling effect coming. You can already sense it. Fighters will think twice. Commissions will ask harder questions. Insurers will raise eyebrows. Suddenly the easy money doesn't look so easy. When easy money dries up, loyalty evaporates. That's when stories start changing. I guarantee you, some of the praise we heard before will quietly turn into distance. The fans aren't stupid either. They might enjoy spectacle, but they respect authenticity. Joshua delivered authenticity in its rawest form. Once fans taste that again, it's hard to sell them a watered-down version. That's a problem for anyone whose business relies on blurring lines because the line just got redrawn in permanent ink. I keep wondering what happens if Paul comes back, not physically, but psychologically. Once you know you can be shattered like that, the ring feels different, heavier, closer. Confidence becomes performative. Performative confidence gets people hurt. That's not speculation. That's history. History is ruthless about repeating lessons. There's also the legal and regulatory side lurking quietly because commissions don't like embarrassment. This was embarrassing on a systemic level. When regulators feel embarrassed, they start tightening screws. Tightened screws rarely stop with one case. They ripple outward. Ripple effects are where unintended consequences live. What scares me is the possibility that we're only seeing the clean part of this story, the part that can be shown publicly. The messier conversations are happening behind closed doors where blame is being negotiated and narratives are being aligned. Those conversations shape the future far more than any press conference. I don't think this kills influencer boxing overnight, but I do think it poisoned the well. Poisoned wells don't announce themselves, they just make everyone sick. Slowly. You won't know it's over until nobody wants to drink anymore. That moment comes quietly, not with a bang, but with absence. At the end of all this, what lingers for me isn't the punch, it's the pause afterward. That weird collective intake of breath where everyone realized something irreversible had happened. Irreversible moments don't get undone by spin. They just sit there, waiting. The longer they sit, the heavier they become. So yeah, this is my take. Messy, uneasy, unresolved, because that's how this feels. Unresolved, until we get honesty instead of choreography. This story will keep mutating. Each mutation will bring new suspicion, new doubt, new cracks. Cracks don't heal themselves, they spread. Right now it feels like we're standing on something that hasn't finished breaking yet.